On January 5, 1942, the streets of Tokyo rang with exultant shouts of "Banzai" as news of victory after victory swept through the capital. To the Japanese public and the ardent nationalists in the military, the empire seemed invincible, its dominion spreading across East Asia like an unstoppable tide. Yet amidst this euphoria, the architect of the attack on Pearl Harbor, Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto, sat in his study aboard the flagship Yamato, consumed by a dark foresight. While the politicians celebrated, Yamamoto warned his old friends that the octopus of the Japanese Empire was stretching its tentacles too far until it was almost flat. He had promised them 6 months to a year of wild victories, but he knew the sleeping giant of American industry would not remain dormant for long. He knew that unless Japan could force a negotiation quickly, the war was already lost. His prophecy began to materialize sooner than expected. Following the catastrophic secret defeat at Midway, where 4 Japanese carriers sank beneath the waves, the strategic balance shifted. The desperate race for control moved south, toward the lifeline connecting the United States to Australia. The focal point became a humid, jungle-covered island that few had ever heard of, Guadalcanal. Japanese engineers began carving an airfield out of the rot and vines, a move that forced the Americans into action before they were truly ready. It was to be Operation Shoestring, a hasty, ill-planned offensive launched with poor maps and scarce intelligence, destined to become the turning point of the Pacific War. On the morning of August 7, 1942, the silence of the Solomon Islands was shattered by the thunder of American naval guns. The invasion caught the Japanese completely off guard. On the main island of Guadalcanal, the Marines stormed the beaches only to find emptiness. They wandered into Japanese camps where breakfast was still warm on the tables. Bowls of rice were half-eaten, and chopsticks lay scattered where they had been dropped in panic. It seemed deceptively easy, leading the young Americans to joke that the war might be a walkover. But just across the channel, on the smaller islands of Tulagi and Gavutu, the true face of the Pacific War was revealing itself in blood. Here the Marines encountered the terrifying resolve of the Japanese Special Naval Landing Forces. Unlike the laborers who fled into the jungle on the Big Island, these troops were dug into caves and coral ridges, waiting with a patience that defied understanding. For the first time, American troops faced an enemy that refused to surrender. The fighting was intimate and savage. In one harrowing encounter, Gunnery Sergeant Angus Goss tried to flush Japanese defenders out of a cave with grenades, only to have them thrown back at him time and again. In a deadly game of catch, he finally held a grenade for mere seconds before the explosion, hurling it in just in time, only to have to charge into the smoke with his submachine gun to finish the job. This was a new kind of war, where the enemy chose death over capitulation, often blowing themselves up with their last grenade rather than be taken prisoner. While the infantry clawed at the coral ridges, a deadly ballet played out in the skies above. The Japanese responded from their base in Rabaul, sending waves of their legendary Zero fighters to crush the invasion. The Zero was a masterpiece of agility, capable of flying circles around the sturdier but clunkier American Wildcats. Japan's ace pilot, Saburo Sakai, danced through the sky, shooting down Americans who were still learning the hard lessons of aerial combat. Yet the tide was turning here too. The Americans realized that the Zero, for all its speed, was fragile, a tinderbox that would explode with a few well-placed hits. The American pilots began to use teamwork, inventing tactics like the scissors maneuver to counter the lone wolf samurai spirit of the Japanese aviators. As the sun set on the second day, the initial American success began to curdle into a looming disaster. Fearing the loss of his precious aircraft carriers to Japanese land-based bombers, the American commander, Admiral Fletcher, made the controversial decision to withdraw his fleet. This left the Marines on the beachhead exposed, with their supplies only half unloaded. Worse still, the Allies were blind to what was coming down the slot, the narrow channel running through the Solomon chain. Under the cloak of darkness, Japanese Admiral Mikawa was racing toward them with a force of heavy cruisers, experts in night fighting. The American sailors, tired and unsuspecting, had no idea that the easy victory of the morning was about to transform into a terrifying struggle for survival. The sleeping giant had awakened, but the nightmare was only just beginning.